Mushrooms. They come in a lot of colors, shapes, sizes, and textures. They can be delicious, delightful, and, at times, deadly. In this video, we're going to talk about how to start hunting for mushrooms safely, as well as a very brief overview of the mushroom and a bit of science history and citizen science. This is A Curious Wonderful Nature, the channel that helps city dwellers connect with nature through citizen science, foraging, folklore, storytelling, myths, and nature-oriented news items. I'm your host, Quinn. Welcome. This video was inspired by National Mushroom Hunting Day. It was created to celebrate mushroom foraging, which is something I really like. So I was really happy to do this video. Now, here comes the Geeky Science Bit. A mushroom is the fruiting body of mycelium. Mycelium is made up of very slender threads or filaments called hyphae, which is the plural for a single filament called hypha. The mycelium take nutrients from its environment in the same way that roots work for a plant. Mushrooms are neither plant nor animal. They are fungi. This is the basic structure of a mushroom. The cap, or the top of the mushroom, and that cap can be slimy or it can be smooth and dry. It can have scales on it as well. The color can be the same or different than the other part of it as well. If you were to take the cap off and flip it upside down, you would notice the gills of the mushroom. And the gills hold the way in which the mushroom can reproduce itself. Gills can be different colors. The gills can be attached or not attached to this next part of the mushroom, which is called the stipe, or also known as the stem or the stalk of the mushroom. That part is attached to the ground or log or wherever it's growing from. Obviously, there are many more parts to a mushroom than the three that I mentioned: the cap, the gills, and the stem or stalk or stipe. But as a beginner, if you can describe your mushroom, the mushroom that you find, and the environment with those three elements, that will take you really far in terms of identifying your mushroom. Also, there are a number of species that don't fit into that cap, gills, and stalk description, and I'm going to talk about a couple of those later on in the video. There are thousands and thousands of mushroom species, and more are being discovered every day, thanks to citizen scientists and mycologists across the country and all over the world. Mycology is the study of mushrooms, and a lot of these mycological groups are made up of citizen scientists who are just passionate about finding, identifying, and cataloging mushrooms. However, these groups are aging out. They are in need of a more diverse membership in terms of age, gender, ethnicity, and race. Traditionally, and not surprisingly, the membership has usually been older, male, and white. When it comes to citizen science in general and mycological study specifically, the more mycological enthusiasts that we have, the better in order to identify, find, and catalog the mushrooms that are out there. Speaking of diversity in the mycological field, one scientist that hasn't been known for his work in the mycological field is George Washington Carver. Yes, that George Washington Carver. Carver developed a talent for collecting different specimens of fungi and collaborated with another scientist to compile a preliminary list of the fungi of Alabama in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Carver was instrumental in cataloging the biodiversity of Alabama's environment. It's surprising, even with the work of someone like George Washington Carver, that people in the United States still are afraid of mushrooms. Because of our general loss of knowledge about our natural environment, and also because of negative depictions of mushrooms in popular culture. Thank you very much, Last of Us. Wild mushrooms have a bad reputation. And yes, people do become poisoned or worse by some of the mushrooms that they found. But let's put this into perspective. Would you eat half a chicken raw? Would you eat potatoes raw? Or would you go to your sink and pour yourself a glass of bleach? I hope the answer to my questions would be a resounding no. This is you knowing about the food in your home and the dangerous chemicals that are in your home as well, and how to manage those. You know that you can give yourself gastric distress if you don't prepare your food properly, and you know that even though it's in your home, you're not going to drink detergent or you're not going to drink bleach. You just know. This is knowledge that you've acquired. Being safe and successful at mushroom foraging is kind of that same thinking. You acquire the knowledge. You start to know. Just like you didn't know everything when you were born, when you started out in life, you're not going to know everything when you start out hunting for mushrooms. Being safe and successful at mushroom hunting means that you are going to become knowledgeable, you're going to be cautious, and you're going to use some common sense. You're also not going to put random things from the outside into your mouth. So how can you start foraging if you haven't done so before? The first thing I'm going to suggest that you do is this. Join a group. Take a best friend, a partner, or your family and join a mycological group in your area. You'll gain a lot of knowledge from experienced mycologists, both amateur and professional, as well as add your experience, perspective, and knowledge to the group. I'll provide a link below to the North American Mycological Association. That way, you can find one that is closest to you. Second, you can also ask about mushroom experts or guides, or joining a mushroom hunt at your local botanical garden or at your university extension program. Third, if you do decide to start on your own before you join a group or find an expert, I'm going to suggest this. You can look, maybe touch and collect, but don't eat. Do not eat anything that you are not 100% certain of. And if you're beginning at this point of time, you're not going to be 100% certain. I will say just wait until you have gone on a tour a couple of times with a group, or until you've been able to speak with a mushroom expert or guide so that they can point things out to you and you can know for sure about the mushrooms that are safe for you to kind of pick up and consume. But I suggest hunting to look and observe and not necessarily to eat mushrooms at this time. What you should do instead are these 3 things. 1. Take lots of pictures using identification apps like Seek and iNaturalist. I have videos on how to use these apps in the description below. These are great in helping you to start identifying mushrooms. Secondly, buy or check out from your library a field guide. In a previous video, I talked about 2 books that helped and continue to help me in my mushroom identification. I will also link that video below. Third, join a couple of local and regional Facebook mycological groups. Join, lurk, and take a look at any files the group may have. Over time, you'll get a sense of how people communicate with each other and also how to submit a post for identification. Now that you're ready to start, I suggest looking in your yard, parks, green areas around your place of work or worship, in schoolyards, or on open university campuses. To help you get started, I'm going to show you about 10 mushrooms that you will probably be able to find in your area at this time. Most of them, if not all of them. They will be a mix of edible and non-edible because I think it's important to know which ones you can eat as well as which ones can cause you gastric distress or worse. This is by no means an exhaustive list. As I said earlier, there are tens of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of species, and honestly, I really don't have enough time to list them all. Golden chanterelles and red chanterelles. They do have some toxic lookalikes, so you have to be very careful when you are collecting to eat them. But you're not doing that right now. Chicken of the woods. And yes, they do taste like chicken. You can find a flush of these on a snag in a park or a log. The common earthball, also known as the pigskin poison puffball. You can tell from the second name, it is not edible. When they are ruptured, they can disperse purplish black spores. And no, you will not turn into a zombie. The death cap. It's all in the name. It really is. This will kill you dead. It has something called an amatoxin. Deadly. Don't eat. Destroying angel. Again, the name says it all. Don't eat. The dryad saddle or pheasant back. This is another mushroom that you can find on a log. It is considered edible. White field mushrooms. Now some of these are edible and they sometimes grow in a ring. There are also poisonous lookalikes. The fly agaric. Those are the cute mushrooms that you tend to see on kids' clothing or a lot of designs, and while they're very cute, they are poisonous. Another puffball is the giant puffball. They can start from a fist size to almost a beach ball size. They tend to be white or creamy. And the inside, if they are young enough, tends to be creamy white. If they are not a young mushroom, it tends to go to brown. You don't eat those. Turkey tails. You can see those everywhere in woodlands and forests, and they do grow on a lot of stumps and logs. Little brown mushrooms, also known as LBMs. These are a varying species, and they are not edible and they are short-lived. If you're interested in trying wild mushrooms right now, there are a few places that you can go. You can go to a farmer's market or to a larger organic food market, especially if you live in a diversely populated city. You can also go to an Asian market or to Eastern European markets, as they tend to sell a variety of mushrooms, either fresh or canned. You also have the option to order some online, but those may tend to be pricey. Well, that's it. I'll be returning to the subject of mushrooms more in future videos. Please leave me a comment below, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching. Be curious, stay wonderful, and bye for now.